Reports yesterday made it clear that Jonathan Toews is 100% in on coming back to the NHL, according to Pierre LeBrun. The Boston Bruins would be a pretty great fit, actually. Because I know there are people who read that right away and are like, no way. 37 years old. He hasn't been in the league for 2 whole seasons. What are we doing here? But hear me out. Look at what the Bruins need. They really need a center, okay? They still do. They went in and got a bunch at the trade deadline, right? Centers and center prospects. You've got a bunch of young guys still in the system. Casey Middlestadt isn't young, but, he's still got a lot to learn. Matt Poitras, Fraser Minton, soon enough, a guy like Will Zellers, these guys. And here's Jonathan Toews, who's been there and done that at the center position. Like, can he not play a bottom 6 role for this team? Like, why not? If he's deemed, that he's fit enough to play in the NHL, obviously. Like, could he not play a bottom 6 center role for this team and help these guys kind of come along? Because I see a Bruins team that is desperate for leadership. So desperate for it. They were desperate for it even when Marchand was here. They traded their captain. There's really no guarantee at all. And I would say the chances are fleeting by the day that he ends up coming back to the Bruins. He's about to win a Stanley Cup with the Panthers. And I doubt he's coming back to the Bruins. There's been all kinds of question marks around guys like David Pastrnak and Charlie McAvoy and their leadership within the room, right? Because things started to fall apart when they were the alternate captains. Now, Pastrnak did show some great signs of leadership on the ice. But here's a guy who comes in, Captain Serious, captained 3 Stanley Cup teams, 3 of them, one of which you know very well, Bruins fans. Like, can he not give you that? He can give you a bottom 6 center role. He can give you real tangible leadership in the locker room. A guy who has his name on the cup 3 times. You're going to have a pretty green coach no matter what. Right? Unless it's Jay Woodcroft. None of these guys have been a head coach in the NHL before. Jay Leach, Mitch Love, Marco Sturm. New coach coming in. All kinds of drama in the front office. A bunch of young centers. And a lack of leadership. Jonathan Toews helps, if not fixes, all of those things. All of them. And of course, he'll want to be on a contending team. Of course. And the Bruins aren't really that. They could be a playoff team. But they're not really that yet. But then again, how many of these contending teams are looking for someone like a Jonathan Toews? Because one of the names I saw was the Stars. And again, you're looking for some bottom 6 production, like most teams are, right? But they have seen Jamie Benn's game go to absolute hell the last year. Anyway, he was invisible, an absolute ghost in the playoffs. Tyler Seguin wasn't much better. He scored a couple goals, but wasn't much better. And so I don't think the Stars are looking at that and saying, we need another one of those guys. We need another one of those guys who hasn't played in the league for 2 years. Probably not. The Jets are one that comes up. That would make a lot of sense. Jonathan Toews is from, checks notes, Winnipeg, Manitoba. And it's really tough to get anyone to want to play there. Nikolai Ehlers is out the door. Obviously, he's not a direct replacement for him. But maybe there's a fit there with his hometown team. I'll tell you what, the antithesis of Chicago, Detroit would really be interested. Really be interested with the lack of production they got from depth guys. And that was probably the difference between them making and missing the playoffs, which they missed for the 9th year in a row. So maybe that, but again, I would think the Red Wings are thinking about it similar to the way the Stars are, of like, I think we need to focus on developing some more talent here. The Bruins are somewhere in between, where they're not a Stanley Cup contender. They can maybe make the playoffs next year if Elias Lindholm and Jeremy Swayman turn their game around the way they did at the World Championships. But they also need someone to help some of the young guys along. They do. Like, Detroit has Patrick Kane, right? A couple other wily vets and a young captain, still young captain, Dylan Larkin. The Bruins have a couple of guys from the old guard, McAvoy and Pastrnak, who, again, terrific players, but there's some questions about their leadership. And a bunch of young guys, has-beens and never-was. Okay? Jonathan Toews can kind of keep that together. Again, all you need is for him to be a third or fourth line center, win some faceoffs, be on the penalty kill, give you some of those. I mean, if he gives you 20 goals, which is a lot, I doubt he'll give you that, and gives you decent penalty kill time, like that's giving you some of Marchand's production right back. I don't think it's crazy at all. In fact, I think it makes a ton of sense for the Bruins and the place that they're at with all these young centers, and they're trying to figure out which of these guys are actually NHL caliber. You know, I think you should see Fraser Minton on the team at some point in the big club next year. But then again, Don Sweeney loves stashing those guys in Providence. Just fucking loves it. So you should see Fraser Minton. You have to get more out of Matt Poitras. And like, who better to take these guys under their wing than Jonathan Toews? I mean, seriously, who better than that? And you're trying like hell to get any of these guys to become a Bergeron. You're not going to make these guys Patrice Bergeron. It's just not going to happen. No chance. Patrice Bergerons do not grow on trees. And you got the last ounces probably of good hockey out of Patrice Bergeron. That said, I can give you diet Patrice Bergeron right now. I can give you bottom six Patrice Bergeron. Bottom six, mid to late 30s Patrice Bergeron, which is what you were so desperate to keep in 23-24 and this past year. Jonathan Toews is that. He's not the player that Patrice Bergeron was, but he's not that far off, and he's the same age. So there it is. You want that kind of mentality, that mentorship? It's time to think about Jonathan Toews, because you sure as shit know the Bruins are not going to sign a marquee free agent anyway. So you might as well get someone that the fans have heard of and can actually help your locker room and your on-ice production. Jonathan Toews to the Bruins. Book it. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, completely free, helps me keep my job. We are live on YouTube every weekday, high noon Eastern time, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. Appreciate you making it a part of your daily routine. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air. We will see you on Monday on another edition of The Cam Show.